This now, Chief Washington anchor and On Balance host Leland Vittert. Leland, thank you so much for your time. I know you've been busy as well. So there are these growing concerns of an attack from the north, from Hezbollah. Talk about the strategy of how the U.S. is maneuvering and deploying our aid.
Well, look, there's been consistent lines from President Biden and from his both Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense, quote unquote, don't, meaning don't involve yourself Iran, don't involve yourself Hezbollah. And there's nothing that sort of backs that message up, quite like two aircraft carrier battle groups. The key part of the battle group, not only in terms of the air wing, the ability to project force, but each one of those carrier battle groups has about half a dozen destroyers with it that can provide air defense coverage and augment the air defense coverage that the Israelis can provide in their north. The difference of a war with Hezbollah versus a war with Hamas is significant because Hezbollah's arsenal is so much more sophisticated. Long-range precision-guided missiles that can hit Israeli infrastructure, can take out airports, can take out power supplies, can take out fuel depots, can take out civilian populations. So it's a very different enemy. That said, I think you'd have to look at this as Iran playing chess, not checkers. If they were going to involve Hezbollah, it would have made a lot more sense to launch that attack 10 days ago on the same Saturday morning that Hamas launched its attack, or within 24 hours when Israel was on its heels, rather than now. Israel's entire military is spun up. Their reservists are all called up. They are loaded for bear right now and ready for anything. So the idea that Iran would now unleash Hezbollah is perhaps not quite consistent with the way the Iranians have played this game before. The second thing I would point out is the Iranians have walked back their statement about getting involved if Israel doesn't stop its offensive in Gaza. The third thing to point out here and to watch, Hezbollah to Israel's north is Iran's insurance policy against an Israeli first strike on either Iran's nuclear facilities or a decapitation strike on Iranian leadership. Neither of those things have happened. If you're the Ayatollah, you may want to keep that insurance policy because once you've played and once you've cashed in the Hezbollah card, it's gone.
So Leland, I like that analogy you used, chess, not checkers. And so much of war, is about strategy. All of war is about strategy. Do you think, keeping in mind kind of that chess, not checkers analogy, that we will see more U.S. ships positioned, and how soon could that happen? Or does it kind of depend upon what happens next?
Well, Clausewitz always said that war is politics by other means. So look at this from the political perspective. If you're the Iranians right now, you're liking what's happening because the public sentiment, as we've predicted, is turning against Israel. Israel is having to play defense on the PR front about all the civilians in Gaza, never mind that Hamas has a lot more responsibility for the suffering of civilians in Gaza than Israel does. From the United States perspective, President Biden is now trying to change a little bit from being this peacetime economic president to sort of embracing his role as a wartime president. As we heard Kelly Meyer talk about, that he might go to Israel, be the guy on the ground. He went to Ukraine, got a real bump poll number-wise when he went to Kyiv. So this is something the White House is looking at. Probably the similarity or parallel would be back to 1978, 79, and 80, when Jimmy Carter had a very similar policy of engagement and rapprochement with the Soviet Union, as President Biden has had towards Iran. And then the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, and Jimmy Carter flipped. He flipped too late for a domestic political audience. But it does seem as though we're seeing a flip pretty quickly now by the Biden administration to become more hawkish. Is it too late or not? That is something that we can't really answer from a domestic political standpoint for another, a year.
Leland, we don't have much time yet, but I do want to ask you this. As we are positioning, these ships, what does this response mean potentially for America's defenses in a broader scope? Because obviously we have an entire world that we have to be aware of.
No question. And this speaks to the fact that the U.S. military doesn't have the ability it used to, which was to fight and win two regional wars at the same time. And the Pentagon chiefs will tell you that ability is severely curtailed as of today. The flip side to that would be this. the world's bad boys take note, right, of what happens to each other, in the sense that if we stand up for our allies in Israel, they're more hesitant to attack our allies in other places in the world. Strength begets strength. Weakness is provocative.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.